Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel for a slightly different video than usual. I saw a booktuber that I really like who reads a lot of literary fiction do this video, and I had so much fun watching it that I immediately wanted to do it with the fantasy books that are on my most immediate TBR. So these are the fantasy books that I own physically, and I'm trying to parse through and see which ones I am most looking forward to reading. I don't know if this is going to go as well with fantasy as it does for literary fiction, but basically what I'm going to do is I have there must be 15 or so fantasy books that are on my TBR, and I'm going to read the first line and then I'm going to rank them. That's it. I'm going to read the first line and see how compelling is it? Does it pull you in right away? Do I feel like it fits what the book is about? And we'll go from there. Because these are all science fiction and fantasy, this might not work as well because I feel like sometimes in literary fiction they're looking for that punchy line to come out, but we'll give it a go. I'm also sitting on the floor because I was going to stack the books up on this chair. I knew that I could not hold them in my regular chair and do that, so we're just going to do it from the floor today and go through. So the very first book, I haven't read the first line of any of these books, so I don't know what to expect, but the very first one that I have here is Never Die by Rob J. Hayes. So this is a book that I've owned for a couple years. I really want to read it, and we're going to crack it open and see what the very first line says. So, first line is a prologue, and the first line says, Itami Cho woke to the screams of her own death. Which is pretty good. I don't know what I was expecting, but I feel like that is pretty good. I mean, it's the first book, so it goes in the number one and the last position simultaneously, but I don't know. I feel like that sets you up fairly well. That is a punchy first line. That's compelling. I want to know what's happening. I'm assuming the book has something to do with death regardless. I just know that this is Asian-inspired fantasy. I don't know anything else aside from that, but I assume that it has something to do with death just given the title, but I don't know. That seemed like a pretty good first line to me. So we'll start Never Die off right there. The next one is a book I've had on my TBR for a long time since it came out. I don't know what the date of publication was for The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern, but I was a really big fan of The Night Circus, which I think is right behind me. And so when Starless Sea came out, I bought it, and I didn't read it. I don't know why. I think maybe initially there was some mixed reviews, and I had loved The Night Circus so much that I didn't want to dislike this one. So I just kept putting it off, and now it's just been put off for a really long time. But I personally really liked the lyrical writing in The Night Circus, so I'm actually expecting big things from the first line of The Starless Sea. So let's crack it open and see what we have. So, the first line says, there is a pirate in the basement, which is, I think, fine. I was expecting something a little bit more. I don't know. I know, and the problem with a first line, especially I think in a fantasy novel, is that it's the first paragraph that's probably really important. Now, this is also the first paragraph. The first paragraph is one line, so this book doesn't get a pass regardless, but sometimes it takes a little bit to set a scene in fantasy because we're so often starting off in new worlds, new places. The author wants to give us a taste of that, but there is a pirate in the basement. Not my favorite beginning. It doesn't make me instantly be like, okay, tell me more. So it is going underneath Never Die, which is good because it's beefier than Never Die, so it'll support it well. Coming up next, we have Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. This is one that made its rounds on BookTube last year that I really wanted to check out. It is novella-ish length, we could call this a novella or a short novel. As far as I know, this is a dark fairy tale. I don't think it's a retelling. I just think it's written in the sense of being a fairy tale, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm expecting something creepy and atmospheric, so we'll see what we get from the first line of this one. The inside is cool, so I have not opened this book before, but it's got a nice little skeleton picture in there, so I like the end cover there. All right. So the first line says, "The trees were full of crows and the woods were full of madmen." I think that fits, that fits the book well. It gives me, like, it is an opening line that I would have expected from a book that has been sold to me as a dark fairy tale. It's not the best first line. It is not one that makes me think like, oh, this is going to be something amazing, but I think it's decent. I think it is fitting. It tells me a little bit about what the tone of the book is going to be like. So I have no qualms with Nettle and Bone's opener, and I will put it between Never Die, which remains the best one so far, and The Starless Sea. So we'll set those up on my little children's chair. The next one is a book that I got for Christmas this year from my mother-in-law, and that is The Spear Cuts Through Water by Simon Jimenez. I also have high hopes for the opener of this book because I know that this is literary fantasy, so kind of a blend between literary fiction and fantasy fiction. I know that Evie really liked this. I know that she is big into prose and she likes beautiful writing. So I hope that this has a great opening line. The downfall and like what you can get sometimes, and I think this is what The Starless Sea suffered from, is like sometimes you get things that are so stylized that they're these short, like punchy sentences that work together as a whole, but as a singular line, they sometimes don't do as much to draw you in. So I'm trying to temper my expectations here because I'm really looking forward to reading this book, and now I'm invested in it having a good opening line. So if it doesn't, I'm gonna be sad. So we'll pop it open and see. The first line, "Spear cuts through water." So it begins with before, the beginning. "Before you arrive, you remember your Lola smoking." Okay. Again, I feel like it's so hard. I don't know. Now I feel like I'm being harsh on all these books because the author is building an atmosphere. They're setting a scene, but this is the rule. The rule is one line, and that's what we're sticking to. So if you can see, I don't know if you can see, I don't know, but you can see like the beginning of the sentence is before, it's up higher, and then you get the end of the sentence down. So I do like that bit of like stylization. It is setting me up for maybe the kind of story that we're getting here, where maybe the narrative is not as linear as you would expect from a lot of stories. I like that it's pulling on memory and talking about things that you're kind of recalling from childhood. So it is setting a stage for what I am expecting at the beginning of this book. Again, it's not like the punchiest first line, but I do enjoy that separation of the sentences. I think that tonally that sets something up for me, and there's something that I'm going to expect from that. But unfortunately, in terms of first lines, I still have high hopes from this book. I still think that I'm going to really like it. But in terms of just like straight first line, that's all we're getting, I'm going to put it below Nettle and Bone. So I'm going to put it here. Starless Sea's pirate is still not calling to me in any way, but we're going to put it down here on the bottom. The next book that we have is, I'm assuming this is Till and not Tile. Till, I think, by Daniel Kelman. I know nothing about this book. I put it on my Amazon wish list 2 years ago maybe when I heard Klaus talk about it, because the way that he talked about it made it seem like something that I would really like. And in my mind, like when I'm trying to pull back memories from that time, I feel like it did sound somewhat literary, definitely different from a lot of sci-fi fantasy that I was reading or have been reading. But I really don't know what it's about. There's like a little court jester and devil on the front. So again, I'm expecting something dark, maybe satirical, maybe like dark humor in here, but I really have no idea. Don't know what it's about. We're gonna open up and see if the first line will wow us. So I just wanna make sure this is the beginning. So the first chapter is called Shoes, and it says, "The war had not yet come to us." Again, a little bit generic, but sets you up for an expectation. Obviously, we're looking back on something at a period of life, a period of war. This is, sets us up to expect that there's going to be some tumult in this character's life and that they're reflecting back on it. But as first lines go, this one is, pretty average. It doesn't give me a whole lot to separate it from other fantasy books or other books in general, although I'm expecting it to feel really unique as a whole. So again, we're going to put this one's going to go under Sphere. The fear now is that I do have some small books, and if they end up on the bottom, I don't know what's going to happen to this stack, but we're going to put that under Spear, above Starless Sea. I don't know why I'm being so harsh on Starless Sea's pirate, but that's it. This is, when you're flying off the seat of your pants, these things are going to happen. The next one is Never the Wind, and the author here is Francesco Dimitri. This is a book that I picked up while on vacation in Montreal. The cover drew me in, and then I remember reading the back and feeling like this is something that I could really enjoy. I don't remember what the back says, and I'm not going to look at it to influence myself, but the little shout out at the top here says, Susanna Clark meets Robert Aikman in this heady, melancholic, nuanced coming-of-age story. So again, this makes me expect that it is maybe a little bit more on the literary sphere of fantasy, and I'm excited. Let's see what the first line is here. So, here we go. I became friends with Ada Guadalupe, I'm going to say. We'll start over now that I feel like I can maybe pronounce this. I became friends with Ada Guadalupe in June of '96, at the start of a summer that would shape my existence the way the wind shapes the land. I feel like that is also a little bit generic. Like, if we're setting up a coming-of-age story, it tells us more than some of the opening lines from the other books. So it's a complete sentence. I mean, they've all been complete sentences, but it is a more expansive sentence than a lot of the sentences had been. It tells us that this is probably going to be a coming-of-age story. It sets the scene for where the book is going to take place. But overall, it doesn't wow me, and I'm not sure, like, a summer that shapes my existence the way the wind shapes the land, that is poetic language, but is it great? I would say no. Like, again, in terms of similes, not that high on the list of things that would wow, but it does give me a sense of what the book is about and what is happening. Again, where am I going to put this? I guess I'll put it above Till. This is hard to know. I need something to stand out. I need something to, like, just come in and grab me. Like, I want a Book of the Ancestor opening. I want a Red Sister first line to pop at me out of these books, and I don't know if I'm going to get that. But we'll continue along with this thought experiment regardless. I popped this one on because this is a book that I also got. I got this for my birthday this year from my friend Colton, Monster Hunter International, which is, I think, just like a full-on adrenaline, macho, urban fantasy story. And sometimes books like that do have really punchy opening lines. Like, this is the kind of book where you probably aren't taking the time to build up a lot of atmosphere to set a scene. So maybe you do want a really punchy first line that's going to grab the reader and make them want to continue on with your story. It would be bad if this was the worst one because it is a tiny mass market paperback, and I don't want to feel like I'm making it support the entire weight of the rest of this stack, but we'll try it out. So Monster Hunter International is by Larry Correia, maybe? Getting in here. Page 1, Chapter 1. On one otherwise normal Tuesday evening, I had the chance to live the American dream. That is not what I was expecting that to say. I thought it was going to be something like, I don't know, I punched my fist through a dragon, or I don't know what I was expecting, but it was not that. It's not horrible. Obviously, I guess the author is going to be going for some juxtaposition here because I'm assuming that some, like, high-octane monster hunting is going to happen, and we're just opening purposefully with a very generically bland line. So it's not that the line itself is bad. I think it's there for a reason. The author has it there for a reason. I got to read it again because now I'm thinking that this is my least favorite, and I'm just looking at this poor little stack. On one otherwise normal Tuesday evening, I had the chance to live the American dream. And I wish I could read the second line, because the second line is more what I was expecting. But this is not the first 2 lines challenge. This is the first line challenge. So despite the fact that I have now peeked at the second one and it gave me what I wanted, the very first one is probably gonna go, I think I will still put it above the Starless Sea, acknowledging that this might just be because I don't want to put it on the bottom. And there's not a lot to separate those two. But Rob J. Hayes is cruising, still staying in first place. Next, we've got this giant, beefy book that has been on my TBR for, I don't think it's the longest out of all the books here, but it is one of the ones that I have had the longest. So this is Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke, known writer of beautiful literary fantasy, author of Piranesi, which was one of my favorite books last year. And I wish I could remember the opening line to Piranesi, because I bet it was a good one. I don't know. I'm going to look that up after. But we're going to start off, like, it's even hard for me to open this. I have to read this on Kindle when I finally get around to it. But let's open it up to the first page and see what we have. All right. Line 1. The library at Hertfew. Some years ago, there was in the city of York a society of magicians. Simple, to the point. I don't know if this video is completely failing because all of these sentences are very tame. I may have to do this. I may have to redo this with some more like literary fiction that I have on my list, but I'm still having fun. I have no idea if this video has any entertainment value, but that's okay. Where am I going to put this? Oh, goodness. Let me look at it again. Now I can't even find the first line. Some years ago, there was in the city of York a society of magicians. I don't know. I'll put it above Monster Hunter. We'll put it above Monster Hunter. But, I'm going to give myself some shoulder damage soon. All right, another beefy book. Can't wait for Monster Hunter to have to hold up all these books, but the next one we have is The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. Also has been on my TBR for a number of years. There's even a like prequel-ish book coming out this year. So I have started a buddy read for this one. I'm going to be reading this in the summer with my friend Emily, and we are both finally going to knock it off our TBRs. But let's look at the first line and see if that makes me anticipate that happening, or if it makes me worry about, or if I just feel neutral, like a lot of them. All right. It's hard to hold this one up with one hand, too. Goodness gracious. All right. Line 1. Oh, this one's got some nice drawings in it as well. I'm at least seeing that these books are pretty while I'm doing this challenge. All right. Chapter 1. The stranger came out of the sea like a water ghost, barefoot and wearing the scars of his journey. That's not bad. It's not anything special. It's not anything that completely like grabs me from the first go, but I think it's decent, you know? I probably will put it above Never the Wind, but Under the Spear Cuts Through Water, because even though that one was simple, I feel like it did a better job of setting the tone and letting me know like tonally what to expect from the novel, but this one's not bad. It's not bad. I feel like this has been a lot of not bad, sadly. Let's get it here. Oh dear. Let's hope it doesn't. This is like literary Jenga. All right. Next we have Lancelot by Giles Christian. This is historical fiction about Lancelot. And apparently the writing is quite lovely in this one. So who knows? Maybe we'll get a really dreamy, whimsical first line. And maybe we'll get the same kind of thing that we've gotten for so many of the others. All right, let's see. Lancelot got a nice map. Like, why did I think this was a good idea? This is the prologue as well, and I read the prologue for one of the other ones, so I guess we're going to have to do the prologue here. And the first line is, I pursue. They pursue. He pursues, she pursues, not sure. Someone pursues. What are they pursuing? I don't know. Maybe it is, it's asking me, I'm asking questions. I want to know. But I think I want to know because I know I want to read this book, not because I opened it up and the first line was I pursue, which would not tell me anything about anything. So this is what I was talking about in terms of that like stylized literary fiction. Sometimes there's just these like little random sentences, and when you put them all together, they do create something beautiful, but that first line tells us nothing. So I have no choice but to put it on the bottom, and I feel like I should probably do this in phases, but I'm gonna try it. Oh God. Let's see if I'm gonna use like my head to stick. Nope, I didn't have to. Just my hands. Now we're gonna balance. All right, activating some core strength. This is called the literary workout video. All right, next we have The Binding by Bridget Collins, which was on a past 5-star predictions video. It was one of the books that I did not get around to. I don't remember why I picked this up. I don't know if it was purely a cover buy or if somebody had recommended it in the comment section of another video that I had done. I can't remember anymore, and to be honest, I don't know much about this one. I vaguely remember something about libraries. Like this could be a story about stories or a story about a library. I'm not sure. For some reason, pretty covers make me feel like the writing inside is going to be really nice as well. So it gives me like hope that the first line might be really good, but my hope has not worked out for me in this so far. So I got to keep those expectations low. All right. Chapter 1. When the letter came, I was out in the fields, binding up my last sheaf of wheat with hands that were shaking so much I could hardly tie the knot. Okay. The book is called Binding, and the first sentence had the word binding in it, so I like that. I'm assuming it's not going to be the same kind of binding. I'm guessing this is not a book about binding hay, but I like it. When the letter came, I was out in the fields, binding up my last sheaf of wheat with hands that were shaking so much I could hardly tie the knot. Is this person nervous about the letter? Are they overworked in the fields? Are they anticipating something? I feel like this does at least make me curious about what's happening. The first line gives me more than an action. It gives me more than just one tiny piece of a setting. It gives me some feeling from the character. It gives me a hint that how they're feeling is not neutral. They're either exhausted or nervous, or something is affecting them enough that they're shaking while they're completing their task. Like I said, the word binding is in the first line, and that kind of calls back to the title, so I like that too. So this one's going to rank pretty highly, which I don't know if that says a lot for this exercise in general, because I still don't feel like it's one of those like all-time greatest openings or anything, but it does make me curious about what's going to happen in the book, and I feel like it fits with the very little that I know about the story. So I'm going to put it under Nettle and Bone, which did a good job of like setting me up for what kind of story it was going to be. So I'm going to put it right here near the top. Coming up next, we've got 16 Ways to Defend a Walled City by K.J. Parker, which was a cover buy at the bookstore. I had known, I think I bought this around the time that maybe Alan started to like K.J. Parker, and so his name caught my eye in the bookstore, and then I saw this cover, and I was like, this looks really cool. I still haven't read anything by K.J. Parker, so I don't know anything about his style, the way that he writes. I don't know anything about this book, except maybe it's about defending a walled city. So we're just going to crack it open. We're just going to go for it and see. Chapter 1. Why am I doing this? Am I even going to publish this video? I don't know. I was in classes on business. Thank you, KJ Parker, for letting me know that your character was in fact on business at the beginning of this story. Is it gonna go at the bottom? Is it gonna go right at the bottom? No, like it's not worse than I Pursue. The Starless Sea, at least, like we know there's a pirate in the basement. All right, I gotta try to wedge these in. Okay, no, I don't feel confident in my ability to do it all in one go this time. So we're gonna do it in blocks now. I'm gonna tuck you in there, KJ Parker. Put the rest of you on top, and then Rob J. Hayes, you should be feeling secure in your spot. I don't know that anybody is gonna usurp you now. Monster Hunter International is working hard down there. The next book is The Library of Legends by Janie Chang, and this is a book that one of my good friends bought and read and said, I think you would like this. And she's not someone who collects a lot of books. She likes to let them go and pass them along. So she passed this one along to me. I think this might be magical realism. I'm just trying to pull back like from when she told me vaguely what it was about. But I think it might be magical realism, some sort of, or maybe like mythological story that comes to life. Like think about like Strange the Dreamer maybe, but with more of a historical fiction kind of bend to it. But it looks pretty. And I've been tricked thinking that because it looks pretty that I will enjoy the opening. And that hasn't worked out well for me so far. Let's give it a try. Okay. Got a nice map in here. Let's see. Chapter 1. The approaching aircraft were too far away for Leanne to tell whether they were Chinese or Japanese. Well, I'm guessing that this is set in some sort of wartime maybe, or at least in our world. I do think that it is more magical realism than straight fantasy. Again, like a very basic opener, but it does, it tells me a little bit about the book, tells me, at least gives me a setting, gives me a time. I don't know. This is not my favorite experiment that I have ever done, but let's see again. Where are we going to put this? Where are you going to put this? Oh, I think it's going to rank above Monster Hunter International because that was just like, our purposefully generic. I did kind of like that it was purposefully generic, I think. Jonathan Strange tells us that there's magicians, but there's no like mystery to the line. I think I'll put it between Jonathan Strange and Till, which I'm still not sure I'm pronouncing that correctly, but we've got bigger things to worry about, as in the effectiveness of this video. All right. Next we have The Bird King by G. Willow Wilson. So this is a book that was on many a TBR for me last year. This was a total spontaneous cover buy. I read the book Aleph the Unseen by G. Willow Wilson, which was a sci-fi novel, and I really liked it. And so when I saw this one in the store and it had this beautiful cover, I was like, that looks really nice. I'll buy it and read it. It'll be, it's a standalone fantasy, and I thought this could be a hidden gem. And that was 5 years ago or something. So if it is a hidden gem, it's been hidden in my hoard for far too long. But we will open it up to the first page and see what she gives us. Chapter 1. Hassan was deep in prayer. Again. I guess it tells us that maybe religion will play a role in this story. I don't know. It is also the first paragraph. So even if we were doing the first paragraph challenge, this would not bring us much further than we already are. I don't feel like I can do a lot with that. Now I gotta take those down again. Where am I gonna put this? You know what? I think I might put it under Monster Hunter International because I'm still riding with the theory that the first line of Monster International is purposefully like that so that the second line can come in and grab you. And I know that's kind of cheating because I read the second line and it did grab me, but this is my video and I'll put it where I want to put it. which is right there. Oh dear. All right. Rob J. Hayes, there's only one left. Will you remain on the top? First book, first place. Gosh. This doesn't all fall on me. The last one we have, the last hope, Nicholas Eames, Kings of the Wild. This is supposed to be funny. Sometimes when books are funny, they have good, like, pop-in openings. So I'm hoping that this one is at least going to make it near the top of the stack, because I feel like there's been a lot of bland opening lines, and, you know, we're gonna go for it. Kings of the Wild. Come on, Mr. Eames. Chapter 1. You'd have guessed from the size of his shadow that Clay Cooper was a bigger man than he was. It's not what I was hoping for, but it's not horrible, I guess. It tells us a little, you know. I'm thinking, so I know that this book is about a band of retired heroes who are coming back together. And, like, it does set up that expectation. I think it plays well with that idea. Like, you'd have guessed from the size of his shadow that Clay Cooper was a bigger man than he was. I'm going to be generous and interpret shadow in a poetic kind of way here, and think that maybe we're hearing, what we're reading is that you might underestimate this person, but what I'm extrapolating maybe is that the things that he has accomplished, which lay behind him like a shadow, are more vast than you would expect. And it might be just because this is the last book, and I'm sad that this didn't give me more of what I was looking for, but I'm fond of it. I'm happy with it. Kings of the Wild, I'm gonna take it. Where am I gonna put it? I don't know. Maybe I'll put it in number 2. Maybe I will. I don't know. What was Nettle and Bones? This one I liked because it was, like, kind of atmospheric, showed us what the book was about a little bit. The trees were full of crows and the woods were full of madmen. Yeah, I liked that one too. Maybe I'll put it just under, because I feel like I'm putting into it what I think I want to get out of it, but I don't know. I still like it. Rob J. Hayes, you stayed at the top. You stayed up there in the top position. And this is what we've got. Would this be a good way to figure out my TBR? Probably not, because I'm thinking some of the books I'm going to like the most are actually near the bottom of this stack. So I think what we can see here is that for fantasy books, opening lines are not necessarily going to be a good indicator of how much you will like the book as a whole. I think that it takes time to set a scene in fantasy. You want to set up a location or an atmosphere or a sense of magic, or pass on some sort of information that might not be available to you from the real world. So was this the most successful? No. But was it a lot of fun? It actually was a lot of fun. So it's surprising that I hadn't read the beginning of any of those books before, but I really liked doing it. So I don't know what you guys thought of all those opening lines. I don't know what you thought about this video in general, but if you did enjoy it, please let me know. Let me know if you did like any of these opening lines, or if some of them sounded more appealing than I felt that they were. And I will see you with another video soon. Bye!